you geeks! So, I finally read Warbreaker. It's definitely Sanderson, but the younger Sanderson, with all the quirks that kept me from really loving his early stuff. That being said, the book was colorful. Its characters were charming, almost too charming. This book is so short, yet the relatively large cast all have good arcs. The stakes were good and the plot clever. The main conflict is realistically irrational and delicately hangs on the edge of satire. I first heard of Warbreaker as an emo teenager from the cover art of Mordred's Lullaby by Heather Dale.
And you won't understand the cause of your grief.
So, I thought this book was an Arthurian retelling for a solid decade. By the time I actually read Warbreaker, I had almost every twist spoiled for me by either Reddit or my own digging. That being said, even knowing they were coming, some revelations still got me, which is what makes this book so good. Also, for this review, I had friends read Warbreaker and took notes.
And remember, this is for posterity, so be honest. How do you feel?
Spoilers commence. Ciri, our free-spirited leading lady, forced to abandon the mountain she loves to marry a heartless monster.
The hills are alive with the sound of music.
Not the most original heroine, but she grows beyond the free-spirited princess to a regal yet unorthodox queen. Her relationship with Cesebron was sweet and scandalous. When they first meet, it's like there is no way this will end well. But Sanderson pulls it off. Both begin as mere pawns in the Haladrin theocracy, and together they learn to dominate the chessboard. Is Cesebron a bit too good to be true? Maybe, but after all, he is a god. Vivenna. Her arc is certainly the most drastic. This girl begins so stuck up
that if you stuck a lump of coal up his in 2 weeks, you'd have a diamond.
She deserved everything that came to her. I definitely want to do a deep analysis on why her morality of no was so flawed, as evidenced by charming mercenaries easily hijacking her ethics. For now, I was just happy to see her overly proud humility be brought low by those she'd snubbed before. Vasher saved her sorry butt in more than one way, allowing her to become a better person and set off on a journey. Lightsong.
I hardly think I'm qualified to come across all sanctified.
Sanderson really likes writing about men with a crisis of confidence and morality. When that man is also a god, this crisis of faith gets so much more complicated. He's faithless, yet not witless. He knows how ridiculous Haladrin politics are, that the decision of going to war is left to him.
It's difficult. Lemon difficult.
His heroism comes from knowing that he is unworthy. So, despite his protests, he saves the kingdom and dies. Again. At least he died content, which is all anyone can ask for. So, I won't complain. Also, I do appreciate how Lightsong views women, acknowledging divine bustiness, but not ogling and distracting from the narrative. Nightblood. He just wants to destroy some evil. They say if the only tool you have is a hammer, treat everything as if it were a nail. Well, if you are only a sword, treat everything like murder.
When you got a job to do, you gotta do it well.
It's not his fault he has no concept of good and evil, or time. He's really that annoying yet oddly likable kid character. The kid who can vaporize evil and eat your soul. Best sword ever. Vasher. I was surprised surprised that he was an antagonist for the first half. I knew him to be good going in, so when my friend, who read it before me, told me she shipped Vasher and Vivenna from the start, I was like, sure, the princess and the rogue is a great trope.
Well, I'm a horse life, yeah.
Then I read the book. I guess I have odd friends who ship apparent serial killers and princesses. Vasher's true arc, him learning to trust again after getting burned by his first wife. Knowing Sanderson, odds are he burnt his wife. I don't ship him and Vivenna. They are great friends. Just friends setting off on a crazy adventure.
Who's where this road may go?
Magic system. I like the idea of magic that makes the objects around its user glow.
Can you paint with all the colors of the wind?
It's pretty and dangerous. Pretty dangerous. It does require using the souls of others, or parts of the souls of others.
Life after life, this is the prize I give to you.
Awakening has to be Sanderson's most technical magic system. It reminds me of my very short stint in high school Lego League. Colorful, yet freakishly complex. After Vasher's scholarly lecture, Awakening totally overwhelmed my friend, a Sanderson newbie. World building. Geographic and cultural grudges which defy logic are a part of the real world. France and England, Denmark and Sweden, or more appropriately, Spain and Catalonia. As a proud St. Paulite, I know these grudges can get quite silly. I live within sight of Minas Morgul, the cursed city. Yet, when you put this in a fantasy setting, it starts to look satirical. Nalthis has a deep past shrouded in mystery, a great war 300 years ago, the Idrian-Hallandren split, and the rise of the iridescent tones in defiance of ostracism. Despite all this friction, for a war to break out, it took 300 years and one very determined scribe.
I've hired you to help me start a war. It's a prestigious line of work with a long and glorious tradition.
Sanderson's early habit of omitting intermediate history doesn't help either. Plot. It's a tale as old as time.
True as it can be.
Or at least as old as Eros and Psyche. Luckily, I love Eros and Psyche. If it weren't for the zombie army, terrorism, and impending World War II, this would be a thoroughly pleasant tale about a beauty and her not-so-monstrous husband. Ciri and Sisebron's relationship gets off to a bumpy start.
Bouncy, trouncy, flouncy, pouncy, fun, 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 fun.
Yet the relationship grew and pushed them from figureheads to taking control of their bureaucracy. It's a great mix of political intrigue and fantasy, especially with Blushweaver and Lightsong playing their own Les Liaisons Dangereuses.
I need you to carry out an heroic enterprise.
Instead of Ciri's virginity, the bet is a world-spanning war. Though, of course, no one wants to go to war, except for the liars, Bluefingers and Denth. They slip in so unobtrusively that I missed most of their manipulations. And I knew they were bad from the start. This is probably the best peer pressure Sanderson has ever written. Of course, the twist crushed both of my unsuspecting friends their first time. Bluefinger's primary plan was probably to start a war when the Idrians didn't send a princess. So when they did, he had to improvise.
He's flying by the seat of his pants.
The Vasher-Denth duel was a great payoff. I'm just happy that Denth was so devoted to winning in a fair fight. Otherwise, he could have killed Vasher 100 times over. I'm equally happy that Vasher was not so devoted.
You cheated.
The story did end too soon for my taste. Yes, all the characters come into their own just in time to send off Kalad's phantoms. However, I was promised fluffy romance. We get none of that. Instead, Vasher and Vivenna just take off. Who knows if we'll ever see them again. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you would like to see more. Your patronage is greatly appreciated.